just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if it's sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 81. Mike Seglia, Alex Benesowitz. You can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and all those good places. Don't forget, if you want to see the video version of this podcast, just type in Bad Weather Fans on YouTube. Alex,
Mike,
how the hell are you? My voice just cracked. How the hell are you?
it's good. It's good. I'm happy to see that you're going through puberty.
Dude. Did you go? Were you a puberty guy? Did you have your voice crack a lot?
Was I a puberty guy?
I don't know.
Yes.
Did you were you the typical guy like at your bar mitzvah? Were you that guy? Or
no, I mean, I'm sure I had my moments like that, but at my bar mitzvah, when I did my Haftorah, actually was like, somebody made a comment to me, but like, there's so many people start off really strong, and then towards the middle, they like, and then they like go low. So the entire time I did my Haftorah, I was like, I did it like really loud, and like everybody was like, "Whoa, holy crap! What the hell was that?"
So
you know what I mean? Like,
so you're saying you weren't the Knicks season?
No, I was not. I started strong and ended strong. It was like really, I was into it. You know what I mean?
Couldn't help myself. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Couldn't help myself. I actually, here's the story. So when I was bar mitzvah and I had to learn my Haftorah, I was so against learning it, I locked myself in the bathroom. And stayed in there so the cantor could not get a hold of me to help me learn. And she stayed on the phone for hours as I locked myself in the bathroom until I came out.
Oh,
a little inside baseball on that one.
Yeah, no, that's sad. No, I would have to go to I went to my cantor's office. He was at the temple, and I would just go like once or twice a week and studying. I remember being so stressed. Like you're a kid going waiting for your bar mitzvah, like trying to get excited. You're like, oh, my friends are coming and this and that. And then you can't because you're like studying for a test. Like you got to put on a performance pretty much. And it's like borderline memorize it and like the different notes of the song of the Torah section you got to read. And, you know, I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but
no, well, we can end it. I just want to tell people, I stayed back in the first grade, Alex. So
I didn't know.
I was bar mitzvah.
Oh, wait, I did know that.
Compared to my friends, like early. So I had my bar mitzvah in my sixth grade. Unlike most people who have it, I guess, in the seventh grade when they turn 13. So I had it mad early, and like for me, the reason I was held back is because my reading comprehension sucked. So for me, it was a little difficult, but I got through it. We did it, and then it was over with.
Yeah, see, I was late because I'm a November birthday. So I was in, I guess, is it seventh grade or eighth grade when I got, I don't know when we 13
for you. I think.
Yeah, for eighth grade. I just remember it was a Sunday when the Jets played the Vikings. That's all I remember. It was like late November, because I'm November 7th is my birthday. And
so on this
Jets
podcast, the Jets won. That's your biggest memory from your
I was mad because I was, went to every Jets game, as a kid, and it happened to be a home game and didn't go. You know what I mean? It was whatever. It's all good. We're here.
On this podcast, we're talking bar mitzvahs. We'll take your calls at 877. What's your bar mitzvah story? But I do want to talk about Alex, and we've got a lot here I want to get into. You want to get into Jets, Giants. We've got a fun fake or real not headline game. Dolan trivia, of course, and your poll question, which ties in a lot of Nick Net content together, too, which is fun. But I do want to put a bow on the Nets offseason because we didn't get into it last week when I was putting Ryan Hickey in a body bag for a stupid comment about Ben Simmons, you fucking ass. I wanted to talk. I love you, Ryan. So I wanted to talk about the Nets offseason because we haven't really finished it. But in particular, I want to call out Nets Twitter again because I'm having fun with this. Everybody going on Nets Twitter early months ago talking about, Sean Marks. I love what he's done, but this offseason hasn't been complete. I hope they know what they're doing. This is all they got in return from Spencer Dinwiddie. And I'm on the record for saying this, Alex. Like, calm the bleep down. Why are we all freaking out right now when it's early in the process? There's still a lot more to go on. The Nets are going to make more moves. But the overreaction and the wanting to shit on Sean Marks for just doing it was so frustrating. And I said, there's still so much more to go. And now all the same people that took a big dump on Sean Marks and the moves they made, he's the best. This is why we got the best GM in the league. Of course, Sean Marks wasn't done. Of course, he was making more moves. And I think it's simmered down a lot of people that Cam Thomas is now the best player in the NBA. That has helped a lot and has helped calm down Net Nation on their bench. But you dealt DeAndre Jordan, which was a great trade in this podcast.
Great trade.
Moments after that, they signed LaMarcus Aldridge. They've got Patty Mills. They've got Blake Griffin back. They've got Bruce Brown. They've got Cam Thomas. They've got a bench. So we can all now take a big breather.
They also have Kyrie Irving. I didn't know if you knew that. They have Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Nick Claxton's a year older. Joe Harris, I know he had his awful issues against the Bucks, but he was still great in the regular season. He's not going to be that player the whole year. It's in big spots. We'll have to have the Joe conversation. The Nets are going to be just fine. So if you were one of those people that was putting down Sean Marks and you knew what was coming, shame on you. Yeah, and Knicks fans can't assume Julius Randle is going to be fine after his horrible playoff performance, but then also trash Joe Harris and be like, he's never going to be the same after his horrible playoff performance.
It's funny how that works.
You got to be consistent. That's what I preach here. You know what I mean? And in my life, I try to be consistent, about everything. I try. Sometimes you can catch me in being contradictory, and everybody makes their mistakes and not everybody's perfect, but you got to you can't just be, it can't be a one-way street for everything. You know what I mean? You can't look at every one of your players as awesome. You can't look at every one of your moves as awesome. You can't look like everything's on your side, because sometimes you just disagree. And just because you disagree with what the team does doesn't mean you can't root for them and admit that you're wrong too.
What I think is interesting about what you're saying, Alex, is the big difference here, and I agree on all fronts, is the amount of, Joe Harris was bad and it killed the Nets. But Julius Randle is a bigger part of the Knicks' success long-term than Joe Harris is. Yeah, Joe needs to be there and he needs to be great. But if he's not that player, the Nets can overcome it. If Julius Randle isn't, the Knicks are in a worse spot. I would be absolutely, completely stunned if Julius Randle reverted back to who he was from 2-3 seasons ago. That would be insane. So for anybody that goes on here, Knicks or Nets fan, and be like, Julius Randle's trash, you can't trust him as an NBA player anymore, he was so bad in that series, I think that's insane and ridiculous. He's going to be great. Now, is he going to be all-NBA second team next season? I don't want to say that's a lock every year. I don't know. But I think he's a guy that's going to be in a position to be an all-star, and he's just starting to get better, and he clearly has a great work ethic. So I don't want to say he's a lock to be a second-team all-NBA player. Now, if that playoff performance gave you a little hesitation that he can carry a team and be a number one star, now we're going to have a different kind of conversation. Do you think he's a guy that's a James Harden, that's a Kevin Durant? I had to do net first. Do you think he's a guy that's a number one player? Okay, that's a different conversation. But to say he's going to go back and, turn into a pumpkin and all of a sudden be the guy that was, like a fringe starter in the NBA, I think is absolutely crazy. And at that point, you're just looking to troll the Knicks and be an asshole and just be like, Julius Randle sucks. He can't be trusted. Now you're just doing it because you know how to poke the bear and get under the skin of those Knicks fans who can be annoying. So I get that part of it, but now you're just going after him to be unfair, and that's not cool.
Well, that's true. And there's also Knicks fans who don't want to admit that the Knicks got punked in the first round. They don't want to admit that Julius Randle played poorly in the first round. He didn't look like himself. You watched him the whole season, however many games, I think he played about 70. And he was a different player than what he looked like in the playoffs. He wasn't taking the shots he usually takes. He wasn't making the shots he usually makes. And they were scheming for him, and they had a week to prepare for the playoffs because of the play-in tournament, which is something that probably hurt them in the playoffs because the play-in tournament gave everybody a week off, which was different this year. And it gave them a lot of time to study tape. I know it's not that big of a deal, but before they realized, they were able to really sit down and analyze what this guy does and game plan. And it definitely hurt him. But at the same time, he was hitting. There were shots he was open. There were plays he was making.
He missed a lot of shots. And
he wasn't yeah, nobody else really helped besides Derrick Rose, and the lineup changes. We've been over that so many times. Really kind of hurt them, even if it was Alfred Payton. You know what I mean? Going to a DNP after starting all season was kind of bizarre in the middle of a playoff series. Whatever. Water under the bridge. Julius Randle will be fine next year. I really believe that, based on the year before, his first year as a Knick, going to his second year as a Knick, and really taking a step up and really busting his butt and getting into it. And then I think next year, when we were in the playoffs, when the Knicks are in the playoffs again, Julius Randle will be fine. I don't know if he's going to be the same player he was, but he'll be fine. He won't look like a deer in the headlights like he kind of did this year.
See, my question for Julius next year is not what his floor is, it's what his ceiling is. What is Julius Randle going to become? Is he going to improve? He's still young. What kind of player will he be ultimately for the Knicks in their success long term? Because I don't think that playoff performance will translate into what you will see in the regular season from him. No way. There's just no way. Yeah. He's proven that he can play on a day in, day night out basis. That's going to happen. Now, is he going to be a player you can trust in big spots that can make the shot? I mean, we're going to different conversations that if you're a Knick fan, you want to have these conversations. You want to be at the point where you're talking about, is Julius Randle the guy to take a shot for you in a big playoff game? And you're going into that. And then that's a whole new conversation. But to go back on where he can be is just not fair. So I look at what's his ceiling. How much more can he even grow? How much better can he get? And that to me will be the biggest. I was going to say concern because I don't want the Knicks to be good, but that will be the biggest intrigue I think as an NBA fan and as a Knicks fan is what kind of growth do we see from him as he becomes. And let's be honest, he's got to be a great leader for this squad next year, which I think he will be. If he can help those guys out and what kind of leadership role he can give the younger guys on this squad.
It's true. But you know what? All that said, the key to this franchise moving forward is not Julius Randle. It's RJ Barrett. The development of RJ Barrett is the key to this future. If he takes a step and becomes a star that many of us think he could be, I don't know if he'll ever be the elite level top 5 player in the NBA. Hopefully he can, but I think he can become an all-star level player that's legit, there. I don't want to put a number and a ceiling on him, but like he has all the ability in the world and he's a winning player. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he is the key to the future. Julius Randle can be who Julius Randle is, and the Knicks will be in the playoffs every year and they'll be in the second round, first round, but they're not going to take that step. If RJ Barrett takes that step, if Mitchell Robinson takes that step, if one of these guys take that next step, or even two of them, then you have something special here. And that's what could be exciting.
I've got such an off-season sports radio question for you that just popped in my head. I am like horny about this question. I am so excited to ask you this.
Want to do win-loss, or
no? This is even better than that. Okay, here's my question for you. Which basketball player in New York has the most pressure on his shoulders next season in New York?
I would say it's the Nets' big 3.
I want a player. Which player in New York has the most pressure on him to have a big season?
See, I want to say Julius Randle because that's my team that I want to focus on the most. But I think it's Kyrie Irving. I think it's Kyrie Irving because it's not about having a great season. It's about staying healthy, like your boy Ryan Hickey was saying. It's about staying healthy. And like we've said too, he's not breaking any ground. I mean, I love Ryan, but like he doesn't stay healthy in the playoffs. He needs to, and this team needs to win. Like, because you can't keep punting on seasons with guys when they're over their 30s, in their 30s. You know what I mean? Like Kyrie's a young guy, he's 29. You know what I'm saying? So like it's on them. Like Durant needs to stay healthy too. He didn't play a full season either. People act like he did. He played a quarter of the year. So like he needs to stay healthy too, but he's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's fine. Okay. Harden will be fine, too. Kyrie's the one who disappears. Kyrie's the one who gets hurt every year. I know Harden got hurt, too, but he's not hurt every year. You know what I mean? Like, Kyrie is. It's just like,
okay.
I think it's a lot on him. I think it's him.
Okay. So I my follow-up to you on this then, Alex, is...
no. Is it set up?
Yeah, totally. So my question to you on this is, people tell me all the time the Nets don't matter in New York. How could Kyrie Irving have the most pressure on him?
Because the Nets have the big 3 megastars. Like we talk about all the time, how people show up and there are NBA fans that are fans of specific players. and the news and everybody follows the big mega stars. They can be on the freaking Warriors, like the Warriors had the stars, and guess what? They were selling Warriors apparel in Huntington at a Modell's. Were they selling Warriors apparel at a Huntington on Long Island in Modell's 10 years ago? No. You want to know why? Because they didn't have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant. So they follow the stars, get all the popularity. If, like I say this all the time, if Kyrie, Durant, and Harden are gone, when they're gone, and let's say even if they win a title, if the Nets fans are still showing up the way they are now, the Nets fans, I'll put in air quotes, are showing up the way they are now, then the Nets have arrived in New York. Because if they go back to being irrelevant once they stink, then that was just a flash in the pan and they're still not a popular team. Like the Knicks have stunk for the majority of the last 20 years. It was a lot less than the years that as perceived, like they lost every season. That didn't happen, but they were always talked about. It's like the Lakers and Clippers. It's like the Mets and the Yankees. It's not about how good the Lakers, it's not about how good the Clippers are. It's about how bad the Lakers were. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the story, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense, but I do think it's fascinating that you would pick Kyrie Irving in New York, has the most pressure on him after we talked about Julius Randle and his playoff struggles. You talked about the key to the Knicks being, RJ Barrett and the step he needs to make. I think it's telling if you tell me that the biggest player in New York that has to perform next season is Kyrie Irving. Now, I don't agree with your response. I actually think it's James Harden. But I think it's interesting to hear that because you say a setup, but I just kind of wanted to hear that as a response to don't let people listen. Net fans, we listen to this. When somebody says your team is irrelevant, they're saying it because they're jealous. Don't hear that. Don't hear that.
I'm
at
not
all.
saying that anymore.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
I haven't said that in 3
I know
years.
you're not. I know you're not.
Yeah.
I know you're not. But I hear it all the time from people. Nobody cares about your team. And now, if nobody cares about your team, and Kyrie Irving's the one guy that needs to perform more than any other player in New York, I think that's a big deal.
It is. But like I said, we'll see if it's legit that people care or if it's just because of the star power.
Right.
Because if the big three that the Nets have were on Toronto, if they were on Detroit, if they were on Utah, we'd be talking about them nonstop on this podcast. There would be Jazz apparel sold out at every store in town. Like,
True.
you know what I mean? Like,
True.
It's just, but now who the hell are the Jazz?
Which is why I think it's very important for the Nets and their franchise to win championships, because that will make a difference. Like, and
that will.
I'll bring up this guy again. His name's Coonies, and him and I had a conversation back and forth. And I said to him, he was like, "Oh, it took the Nets their second round playoff performance to get fans excited." And I said, "Well, that's how you build shit." So yeah. You're right.
Memories.
You want to make fun of the Nets? Oh, Barkley said it was really loud, but it took that moment to get there. Like, okay, we're finding ways to minimize how the fan base is growing. Okay, let's see what happens next year. Let's see how it all plays out. They're growing. And that's why I think a title just enhances the growth of this organization. So I don't know. I think it's James Harden personally, because I think there's a lot on him. He doesn't have a championship. He needs to prove that he can be a guy that could help facilitate to win a title. So for me, it's him. I think he's got so much on his shoulders. And then I would say after that, I do believe it's RJ Barrett. I would actually put him second in that list. I think Kyrie and Durant have just proven so much already in their careers. And like Durant's legacy, there'll be people on Twitter and be, you cupcake and you went this and that. But I mean, he's cemented as an all-time great. There's no way to change all that. And I don't think Kyrie really cares what anybody thinks. He's in la la land half the time. So I think for them, I think it's RJ I think he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders to take a step.
Yeah. No, he definitely does. Definitely has a lot of pressure on him to take a step, but he's also 21 years old. So it's like, if he doesn't take a step this year, but shows some progression, just keep getting better. You know what I'm saying? Like if you just keep getting better. And also, I forgot the point I wanted to make. Oh, so you talk about losses, right? How Coonies, our boy, was saying, one of our listeners and friends. He's our friend.
I wouldn't go that far.
He's a social media friend. No, Coonies is
acquaintance.
Great. Yes. So he's not going to invite you to the wedding. But what was I saying? So sports fans in general, you lose more than you win. overall, your teams, even the Lakers, even the Celtics, even
if you're
Tom
going
Brady.
with if you're going with championships, yes.
You take
Agreed.
your heartbreaks as like a badge of honor, especially fans like us of terrible teams, of bad weather fans. You know what I mean? Of teams that stink and never win. So that's what happens. You remember the Ewing finger roll. You remember the Reggie Miller plays. You remember the Michael Jordan plays. You remember Hibbert blocking Melo. You remember these plays. You remember Clint Capella calling out the Knicks and then stomping on their throats at the Garden. Like, you remember those things because when you do win, or when you do have a moment, even if you don't win a championship, we do have a moment where you're like, oh my God, we won. And we actually have like, it's so much sweeter. And that is the beauty of being a sports fan. It's a beauty. It's a gift and a curse because you're miserable more times than not. Like, in the next life, I always say, let me be a car guy. Let me be a guy that just browsing Craigslist, looking for car deals and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, watching Netflix and then going to bed at 10 o'clock and not caring about what happened in the sports world. You know what I mean? Like, turn the news on in the morning. Oh, sports are on. Who cares? Whatever. Yeah, let's go to that baseball game and just, watch the game and not care. You know what I mean? Like, that's, that would be nice. But
Alex, that's why. And we had the episode after Game 5 when the Nets beat the Bucks, and I was so, euphorious. I was in such a great mood. I was so happy. I was just in. Is euphorious a word? Is that right?
Euphorious?
I use that correctly? Yeah.
Did you say euphorious or euphoria?
Yeah. Euphorious.
Euphorious? I don't know if that's a word.
I was feeling good. I don't know. Somebody said I was using my words incorrectly lately. I'm getting insecure. So yeah, I was happy. I was very happy. I was happy after that Game 5 win versus the Bucks. But then, what happens is the Game 6 loss, okay, that was tough. But the Game 7 loss, it makes it hard for me even to enjoy the good wins. Because now all I think about is the fucking, the net loss, the toe, and the whole thing, which we've talked about. Battle of the Fans. Check out the catalog, episode 67, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no. And it's
like it gets even more painful, even though that Game 5 win was so good.
I get it, but you say that now, but then when you're in the moment next year and it's Game 7 of the second round or Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final, you're not gonna be thinking about last year. You're gonna be like, holy crap, we can win it right now.
I know.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. There are times you can get checked out of your teams though. Like, I'm a bit checked out with the Mets. You know what I mean? I love the Mets and I try to follow it, but like, I can't, like, the roller coaster of the season, I know it's not going to work out. It's so hard for me to get hyped again after being let down so many times. And then it is what it is. I don't know. But it is what it is. I try to trick myself to get into it because there's no point in being a fan if you're not going to get excited.
Yeah, the Mets had a brutal loss tonight to the Marlins, 2-1, which was just devastating. And you'll hear all the Rojas disaster and his moves. But that brings me to an interesting point. Brings me to an interesting point you made. Because I always have said this, I think this is why the Knicks fan base is one of the best in sports in how much they get into it. Is because wait,
time out. Can we record that you saying that? Can we just
let me finish the fucking sentence? I think they're one of the best fans in sports, just like I think Mets fans are. Yeah. Because they have not won and they have suffered so much that the euphoria, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Is euphoria, they're so excited for big spots because they're craving it and they've got a loyal, good fan base that it feels better. So, like, for example, if the Knicks were to win a title, let's say not next season, because that's when the Nets win, but the season after, like, would you enjoy, would the losses be as painful for you? Because you'd be like, yeah, that sucked, but you know what? We just won last year. I'll be fine. So in a weird way, not getting over the mountaintop, it makes you hurt more and like enjoy more. I think the second your franchise wins a title, it doesn't become as fun. That's what I really believe. Like, you can tell me otherwise. I've seen it with the Giants, and I think over the long haul, now that they've been bad for a little bit amount of time, it's building back up again. But tell me that if you've been waiting this long, like the Knick enjoyment, like you will not get, in my opinion, Alex. I'll be curious. Like last season, the Knicks had such a fun regular season. I think it will take more for you to get into those regular season moments until you get to the playoffs because your mindset has changed. And that's what losing will do. And winning can alter your brain that way. Yeah. Once you win, I don't know if I don't know if I guess what I'm saying is once you win the title, I don't think you take those losses as personal because you have a win that you can lean back on.
That's true. That's true. Like, I guess so. I hear you. That makes sense. But it's kind of different for the Knicks next year where it's like, yes, I can't wait for the playoffs to see what can happen. But it's also they're such a young they're not completely a young team, but they have a lot of really good young players that are the keys to the future. Like I mentioned before, like RJ and Mitch and Quickly and Toppin and whoever. So like if they're getting better and the Knicks are dominating, let's say they're like a top 2 team in the East next year, and like they're like legit like 55 win team, like let's like imagine that and like you know what I mean, like your worst nightmare, and then you know what, I'm going to be excited about the regular season games. I'm going to get into it because that means there's going to be a lot of big wins along the way. Like the game against the Clippers or Julius Randle hitting the game, pretty much winning a game-winning shot, you know, in LA on the road. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was incredible. And then like I'm at the game 2 when the Knicks beat the Hawks and everybody's mobbing in the streets. And like, again, that was a little overblown because there was construction and one side was closed. So everybody had to kind of move in like cattle through this like one little tiny exit, you know, and then all the people who want to get like, you know, the clout chasers who get up and try to make it like so much, and we're all happy and cheering, but the second most normal people can get out of there, they got out of there as fast as they could. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, but we were excited and it was so crazy. And yes, it was one game, but seeing Obi Toppin get a defensive stop and to come down the other one like a gazelle and catch that alley-oop and the place explodes. Like that's a moment right there with me and my boys that I'm going to have. And we're like, remember that happened when that happened and I jumped on your back and I spilled your beer and we didn't care. We're just like going crazy. Like it was just, it is what it is, man.
Well, see that, I hear you. But I'm glad you brought up that top and dunk because this is the one thing that has annoyed me with the Knicks fan base, and they get on the Nets. Like you get on the Nets for the excitement and euphoria with Kevin Durant making a shot where the place is erupting and going crazy, and then you have to downplay it like, oh, it took for you the second round to get that excited. Then meanwhile, on the other side of things, Knicks can be like in game 2 when it was 1-0 Hawks that you got that excited about an alley-oop and we went that crazy. So on one hand, you're making the fun of the Nets because it took that big of a shot to get going. But then on the other side, it's like the Knicks in a game where they were down 1-0, just trying to defend home court to make it 1-1 can get that excited. It's like, okay, I get it. The Garden gets loud, but it doesn't mean other arenas don't. And this is where I get a little bit of a defense mechanism going, and it'll kick in because Barclays Center was fucking crazy that night. It was crazy. Other arenas get crazy. And it's just, it kind of gets to the root of where this podcast is, but that annoys me to no end when I have to hear about how, and you should enjoy that moment. And I personally would not diminish you for that. You should get that excited. And I think after game 2, it becomes this part of our fabric where Knick fans know people want to shit on them, so they get extra loud in the streets, and then people are looking for it because they want to put them down. So it's this combination factor that reels into what that was, as you alluded to, with the streets pouring together and the one-way traffic. So I get all of that. So yeah, Knick fans can be excited about that, just as Net fans can be excited when they're seeing an all-time moment and Barclays Center erupts. We have to stop finding reasons to shit on the other team when they're having exciting moments because you're just fucking jealous, right? I'm watching the Knicks in game 2 having a fucking moment, and I'm jealous. Knick fans are watching the Nets in game 6, game 5 and 7, watching a moment, and we have to find ways to minimize it. Just admit you're jealous of those were exciting moments, and the fans can have great times. I don't understand why we have to find these reasons to shit on the other team about it. Yeah, the top and dunk was fucking awesome. The place went crazy. You're excited. You should be. Your team's been dog shit for 20 years. Of course you're pumped. Nets, they've been nothing. Here we go. Kevin Durant, one of the biggest playoff shots of all time. We got to fucking be upset about it. Both fan bases, shut the fuck up and enjoy what you have and stop being so worried about the other team. But I hope the Knicks do lose.
Yeah, but to top it off, like Obi, do you think Giannis and Milwaukee Bucks fans cared that the Nets players are hurt and that's probably why they got by them?
No, of course not.
No, Giannis is doing his free throw. He's mocking everybody for mocking his free throws at the parade. He's like, okay, here. like doing the free throw on the thing, shoots it into the crowd, and pretty much that's a middle finger to all the people that were shitting on him all year. Of
course.
And it's like, you know what? I got a ring, and you didn't win this year, and I did. So you know what? Go F yourself. And now guess what I did? I bought a piece of the Brewers too, and now I own this city. And look at you guys ring chasing motherfuckers.
Oh, that was like, with this ring chasing.
That's what he did. That's what he was doing.
That's what he did.
Just saying,
but as a fan, I mean, who cares?
Who cares how you win? I know.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares how you win?
If the Knicks had a super team, I'd be sitting here like, yeah, we have a super team. Yeah, they're ring chasers. Guess what? They're here. Go kiss my ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's all I would say.
Right. Well, anyway. it's a ring chaser mentality, but yet, Sean Marks had to figure out how to put it together. You can't. He built this. I like where the Nets were 4 or 5 years ago to where they are now. Like, you can't. Like, who cares?
And all the others. Yeah.
Oh my God.
All the other super teams in our lifetime, or the recent ones, besides the Bulls, because the Bulls are kind of organic with Jordan and Pippen. They kind of were like young and came up together, right? So let's put them aside for a second. But like, you look at teams like the Lakers when they got Shaq, they had Kobe already. Like, you know what I'm saying? You look at the Heat when they got Shaq. Also, they had Wade already. When they got LeBron and Bosh, they had Wade already. Like, when the Celtics got Garnett and Ray Allen, they had Paul Pierce already. Yeah, like, you can't just get guys. You're not going to get a bunch of people. The only person that went back was LeBron, but they had Kyrie, and then they ended up getting Kevin Love too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's like LeBron probably goes home. I really do think he does go home to try to finish what he started, because he knew he screwed up by leaving too soon. Once he went to Miami, won those championships, and people still didn't respect him. But if he goes back to Cleveland, he's taking somebody with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if Kyrie wasn't there and he was going back, he was going to find somebody to come with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you need stars win championships. People shit on LeBron, and he went to the finals 10 years in a row, and they shit on him because his finals record isn't perfect. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and then you get kids like Cade Cunningham coming, the number 1 pick we've talked about, and he's like, yeah, I think LeBron's the best ever. And people are like, oh my God, how can you say that? And you look at it, he's been in his finals longer than most of his life, like in the finals. Like, it's just like, you can't, you got to be consistent is the theme of this podcast. Be consistent.
Which is what I'm trying to do every morning.
You got me excited over nothing.
Which is what I'm trying to do I'm trying to be consistent in the morning. It's just why I'm taking my fiver, man. You just got to be consistent, and then you feel better.
Coffee does it for me.
Yeah, coffee. For me. Yeah, but
not instantly, but I get moving. You know
okay. Well, okay. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit again and go behind the scenes here. After an episode, you had a lot of vegetables, and what happened?
Oh man, it shot out of me like a cannon. I'll put it that way.
So there is something to eating vegetables. I'm telling you, I still eat a ton of meat. I'm not saying I'm like vegetarian or vegan, but I do think it's good to have a lot of vegetables every day to keep you consistent. And that's what this episode's about, keeping consistent.
That's true. That's true.
Do you think the Jets are going to the Super Bowl, Alex?
I do not. No, I do not. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. And I am tricking myself into them being good. Not good, but having promise, because I know deep down we're going to be doing this all over again in 3-4 years. It sounds like Joe Beningo, but he's so right, where it's just like, all right, well, let's see who the next coach and quarterback is in 3-4 years.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean? And he's right every time. It's just like after a while, and you used to be able to get excited about the Jets because you're like, you can actually trick yourself, because like a rookie, every time they had a streak of like a few rookie coaches in a row, like Mangini, Herman Edwards, Todd, what's his name? Todd Bowles, and like all these guys, not Todd Bowles, because he went 10-6, but like all these guys got into the playoffs in their first year. So you're like, okay, it's first year, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just, you had some hope, like real hope. You're like, oh, we're in the playoffs. The Jets haven't been in the playoffs in, it's going to be 10 years. And it's just like, how can I blindly get excited about this anymore? But then it's like, I trick myself into it, because it's like, what's the point of watching? Like, what's the point of, like you got Zach Wilson, number 2 pick, Robert Saleh. All right. These guys are great. I'm watching one Jets drive, and I'm like, all right, this looks cool. Like we got, maybe Elijah Moore. Okay. But I was excited about Denzel Mims last year. And it's just like, I know, Adam Gase is the worst coach ever, and et cetera, but no, they're not going to the Super Bowl, but I am intrigued to see what this team is going to be. I don't blindly trust Joe Douglas, considering his 3rd and 4th round picks from last year are already released. So like, I'm not sure about this whole genius tag with Joe Douglas yet. Let's like pump the brakes a little bit and let's see what happens. But I'm very, very interested to see what Zach Wilson is without the shackles of preseason on him. And let's see what happens with this team.
It is wild that the first game's the Panthers. I'm not gonna. That is
sucks, man.
So
Because I want to root for
bizarre.
Darnold. I want to root for him.
It's so bizarre.
I feel bad because he got screwed. I mean, like people always like throw it in my face, like you thought Darnold was gonna be so great. Like the Jets screwed him, man. Like I know he screwed himself with the mono and everything like that. Well, I guess he didn't screw himself, but he put himself in a situation where he got mono somehow.
Yeah.
And it's like, they had the worst coach ever. He had no offensive line, no running backs, no receivers. You know what I mean? It's like no tight. He like literally had nothing, and he was injured all the time. And it's just like they stumped. They hurt his growth. You know what I mean? It's just like I want to root for him to do well. But it sucks that the first game's that. It should have been Jets Jaguars because they're on the schedule. It should have been Trevor Lawrence versus Zach Wilson first game. How do you pass that up? When would you ever have that opportunity? Number 1 versus number 2 pick to start the season. That's crazy.
Well, yeah. To go back to your Darnold point, I look at like the Steelers, okay?
Yeah.
And with the first year Ben's their quarterback, and he,
they won, right? The Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they got there and they won because of all the talent that was around.
Oh, Doug Bryan.
Super Bowl.
See, Doug Bryan missed field goals.
But what I'm saying is, I think people forget how valuable, especially in the NFL for a quarterback position, where I think it really makes a difference. How valuable it is to have guys around you and competent people around you. I think we take for granted as a fan base and as fans just how important it is. And we kind of forget that people are people and that stuff makes a difference and that egos and minds are fragile. And there's only so much Sam Darnold could take and could have. Yeah, I think if I don't know what his, how great he could have been, and he still could be very good. But, there's a lot that matters that's going on around you. There's a reason that, and I'm spacing on the name, the quarterback in Tennessee now that's kicking some ass. Tannehill. Like, I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the world, but they're a team that's a Super Bowl threat because of the pieces around him and how he improved. And, I don't have to remind you where he was before and his coach and the shit that he had on him. But look when he went to a different change of scenery and how good he got. I'm not saying that could be Darnold. I don't know. Well, we'll find out. But back to the original point. Yeah, as a fan, not a Jets fan, I love that I get to see that. But man, I just think as a Jet fan, it sucks because in my head, I'd be like, Darnold's going for 350 and 4 touchdowns and killing us. Like, how could you not think that?
You know what it is? It's like, I think that he's going to make some play where you're just like, oh my God. Because he has those moments where he makes a play. We had that scramble on a Thursday night game last year. He had that play against Buffalo where he scrambled in circles. And I'm like, what is he doing? And he hits a strike for a touchdown. I'm like, whoa, like, where did that come from?
Of course.
You know what I mean? He has these plays where you're like, holy crap, like this guy can play. And then he throws a pick 6. So like his career is sort of like his first game of his career, where it was Sunday night in Detroit. First play of his career, throws a pick 6. Like, you know what I mean? That. And then they ended up winning the game, and he hits the guy, I think it was Robbie Anderson, for a touchdown on like a perfect pass down the sideline. And you're like, holy crap, maybe we have something here. You know what I mean? His whole career has been that game. It's like he has these plays where you're like, holy crap, look at this guy. And then he has these plays like, what are you doing? Like, there's 4 guys there. I don't care if Adam Gase is your coach. Like, where are you? What are you looking at? You know what I mean? So it's like, at some point, you have to rise above it. You know what I mean? Like at some point,
And the ghost thing was bullshit too.
Though.
The ghost thing was bullshit too because
he got screwed.
Everybody says shit like that, but it was caught on tape and he got exposed, and then it became a talking point for everybody.
ESPN, did that.
As opposed to like where any young quarterback would say shit like that, and it wouldn't matter because he was just talking with the guys on the sideline, talking with his dudes. But because that got recorded, it was like, oh my God, he's seeing ghosts out there.
He's lost. Yeah.
And then, and for anybody that tells you he didn't hear that and let that get in your head, you'd be lying because he's a human being and it affected him.
Yeah, and then the next game they're playing the Jaguars, and the mascot comes out wearing a ghost outfit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? That's just ESPN and like a couple Jets players, I forgot who it was, like got mad, like the real veterans. Maybe it was Frank Gore, who's been around the block. Like he came out and he's like, why the hell did you air that? You know what I mean? Like, you're just creating content for yourself for your first take tomorrow morning. Like, Sam Darnold says he's seeing ghosts. Can you believe it? And you talk about it for 25 minutes and you put it on all your shows. That's essentially the same show over and over. Topics down the side. It's just different people.
Well, you answered your own question, Alex.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man. So he wasn't set up for success, and I want to root for him, but I can't on Sunday, and I hope the Jets kick the crap out of him. You know what I mean? Like I really do, and it sucks. It just I don't know. I don't know what to think. It sucks about Lawson, but they got another Lawson to replace him. Like, you know what I mean? They replaced Carl with Shaq, and it's not as good. They're not as good Lawson, but I think the Jets are going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they can win 6-7 games and be respectable.
You answered a question on Twitter today. You're at Nick Central. I'm at Mike Delivers Pod, where somebody said, "Who's the most overrated athlete of all time?"
Yeah,
and you said it was Saquon Barkley. Why in the history of sports is he the most overrated athlete of all time?
Well, honestly, I put about 20 seconds of thought into that question. So like, I was like, who is Saquon? Because when he was coming out of college, everybody's like, remember what's his name? The Gettleman. Oh, he's a gold jacket guy. I got to get a guy wearing a gold jacket. Gold jacket. Okay. And then the term generational was created for Saquon Barkley, which somehow became a thing now. Everyone's generational. He's a generational talent. Like, no, he's just the number one pick in the draft. Like, relax. You know what I mean? But like, well, no, I'm saying in general, like any person that's the number one pick in the draft now is generational. And he's a special talent. He's generational. So if you're so generational, how come the terrible Jets held him to 1 yard rushing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a good, really, really good player, super talented, really, really good. But you know what? He's not one of the greatest players of all time, like he was touted to be coming out of college. That's why he's one of the most overrated players of all time. Not that he sucks. I'm not saying he sucks. Like, I would be an idiot. I'm not saying that. And this was before his injury. I was saying this because there was a lot of those Darnold versus Barkley takes and debates nonstop. And turns out both were wrong, probably.
Well,
the Jets and the Giants.
I think to your point and to Saquon in general, that's the problem with being the second pick in the NFL draft when you're a running back. And I'm not saying anything that's new or, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but when you're the second pick in the draft and you're a running back and if you're a running back, if your offensive line sucks, etc., it's hard to go out there and change games at that position to the point where you're winning football games consistently. There's only one position that does that in the NFL, and it's the quarterback position. So unless you are somebody that's like can fly, literally fly, I don't know how at the running back position with shit talent around you, you could ever go up to that level of success. Like, to me, everybody gets on the Giants for taking Saquon number 2, where the bigger issue in the Giants organization should be when Ben McAdoo said, we should take Patrick Mahomes here. This is a guy that could change our franchise. And the rest of the Giants organization said, no. We can't do that. We can't do that to Eli. He's our guy. That to me is a bigger bonehead move. Now, I know Ben McAdoo ended up not being a very good coach and had some issues in his second season, and that was a disaster. But I don't, again, like taking Saquon number 2 overall. Yeah, you don't need to take a running back that high because of the position. It's going to be impossible for him to succeed in that sense of all-time great player. Like Barry Sanders is the best. And we still say, okay, the Lions teams didn't do much. It's the Giants not going after Mahomes when their head coach said to do it. If the Giants draft Mahomes, this is a whole different world of a conversation. And that's just what annoys me about it. But yeah, Saquon's a very good player. He's got a big year ahead of him. He needs to be the guy that they can help out Daniel Jones. But if, like, to me, I mean, for the Giants' success this year, it's about DJ and what he does in his third year, which I want to connect back to a point earlier, which is why I think the third year for players is so interesting. Quarterback even the most, but RJ Barrett, Daniel Jones, third-year players in New York that really need to succeed.
It's true. And back to your running back point, the Giants also flipped their plan so many times with Gettleman, which is, I don't understand how he's still employed, where it's like they only drafted Saquon Barkley number 2 because they thought they were trying to put Eli. They had just paid Odell. They're like, we got to get our 3. We got to help Eli. Here we go. Like, we can win again. Eli can get hot. Let's do it. And It didn't happen. Like the Cowboys drafted Ezekiel Elliott, and that worked. I mean, they lost in the playoffs on that crazy Aaron Rodgers play. That the one great team they had, but they were ready to win at the time because Romo got hurt. They came back. They had the number 2 or whatever pick it was for Elliott. It might have been 2 also. I'm not sure.
No, it was a little higher. I want to say it was like 5 or 6.
It was in the top 5, 10, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. But it was too high for a running back unless you're ready to win. And it made sense to them to get him there because they were ready to win. You only take a running back that high when you're ready to win. If the Giants were honest with themselves, they would have picked Darnold. And like if they can go back, they probably would have because they should have just blown it up and let Odell walk, but he was too big of a mega star and they couldn't do that. And they wanted to pay him. He's on TV with Lil Wayne, like he's like in weird interviews. And it's just like, what do you do? And then, they made the play. Like that was ballsy to trade Odell. I mean, it was the right play. I always said they should trade him and not sign him, but I didn't think they'd actually do it. That took a lot of stones. But the point is, you can't draft a running back that high in today's NFL unless he is generational, which Saquon is not, and that's why he's overrated.
But even if you are generational, it
doesn't matter. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's tough. They should have taken. If you look back, it's stupid because it's number 2 pick, but they should have taken the guy the Colts got, the guard that year. I forgot his name. Yeah,
the Colts guard. I forgot his name.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
People know what we're talking about. Whatever.
Yeah. No, Andrew. This is gonna drive me nuts.
That's Andrew Thomas is the guy they drafted.
No, I know. I know you're thinking. There's a video of him that was like people went viral. That people were
Quentin Nelson. There we go.
Quentin Nelson. Yeah. He was guy. And Zeke was the 4th pick. If I have not said that yet. Alex. All right. We good stuff talking about the Giants, Jets. I think the Giants are winning the Super Bowl, so I'll just tell you there. Now, I don't know. I expect the Giants to be decent. I really do. I think. Do you? Yeah, there's no excuses for this. They have a very good defense. They've added components all over on the offensive side. I mean, it's time to win. I mean, it really is. And the NFC East is shit. Say what you want. The Redskins won the Washington football team won the division last year at 6-10 or whatever it was, and the factual tiebreaker versus the Giants. The Eagles are a complete mess. The Cowboys are so inconsistent. Like, tell me why the Giants can't win the NFC East. I think that's definitely in play. Now, this will probably come back to haunt me, and they'll probably be terrible, but I think the components are there, and I finally feel good about having a coach and Joe Judge, and Saquon is back, who's a huge part of this offense, and what they've had added around it, DJ. I mean, I think there's a serious chance for them to win. I mean, that would be my expectations. I really would. No,
I just don't think the quarterback's very good.
Well, that's the problem.
The problem. Yeah, and they reached for him in the draft, and whatever. And people also are putting Joe Judge on this pedestal already, and he hasn't done anything. It's kind of like Joe Douglas for the Jets GM, but Joe Judge is the Giants coach, and they're acting like he's changed the culture, and meanwhile they keep losing 10 games a year. Like, I mean, like, what has he really done? So, like, let's relax there.
There was serious growth with the Giants, and you could see it tangibly. And there was a point when they had that really nice winning streak going, and Daniel Jones did get injured at the end of the season, which did hurt the Giants, and they were into the play. They were a team in the mix in week 17. Yeah, you're right. Okay. You want to say Joe Judge hasn't done much and Giant fans are going crazy over the progress that he's made. But I think you said this earlier in this episode, you're looking for Saleh to come in and give the Jets growth to Joe Judge. Your Jets season on paper, it would be, you're going to be upset when they lose, but would be to have what the Giants had last year is what you're hoping the Jets have this year.
Yes, but it's also the Jets went from one of the worst teams in the history of the NFL to what the Giants were. The Giants have been consistently that 6-10 team, 5-11, 6-10 team. So it's like, how much better have they really been? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, besides that 1 year with McAdoo, were they even in the playoffs besides the Super Bowl year? Like the last.
They were in the year against the Packers and the whole boat thing where they went on.
Yeah, that was the 1 year. But like other than that year, besides their last Super Bowl, were they even in the playoffs? I think
that's been it.
Yeah, so it's just like, I mean, you want to say besides the 2 Super Bowl championships, you know what I mean? You can't do that because that's a pretty big deal. So since the last Super Bowl championship, they haven't been that good. You know what I mean? They've been living on perception alone. They were, they had the Odell mess. that was a black cloud over the franchise, and they couldn't see it because the fan base was so enamored by him, which I don't blame them. You know what I mean? They love the guy, but as an outsider, I'm like, this guy is a mess. Like we got to get this guy out of here for you guys, you know. And I was called all types of names for that, but people don't like to hear things like that as a fan base, which I wouldn't either if I was on the team. But so Giants, Broncos. So the Giants are home, and the Giants are getting 1.5. What do you think of that game? 4:30 on Sunday, 4:25.
I'll take the Giants.
Giants.
You know, I'll be curious to see. I'll be very curious to see the Giants offensive line go up against a defensive front from the Broncos that's pretty solid, with Von Miller coming back from injury. You know, they're a team that can get after the quarterback. And then also, you know, but the Broncos are a mess in themselves. You know, Teddy Bridgewater is their quarterback, and I don't think that was their initial plans all year. I think they wanted to go with Drew Lock, but they couldn't. And Teddy Bridgewater just beat him at what's that?
Because he stinks.
Right, which is the problem. But you know, Teddy Bridgewater is the star. Not you know, nothing to take away from Teddy Bridgewater in the sense that he's put together.
Yeah.
You know, he's that guy. He's a bridge gap quarterback, and no pun intended there. I get. I'm making up words again, but
that was good, man. Bridge gap,
man. But this is a game. Okay, let me put this way: the Giants, Giants got to beat the Broncos. The Giants got to beat the Broncos. They got to protect the quarterback, and they got to go from there. They got to get a victory here. Denver's got no expectations on that.
They got a good defensive line, though. The Broncos have a good pass rush, so the Giants' offensive line is sketch. So
I get you, and that's why I'll be curious to see how that battle goes. But at the same time, this is a game the Giants early have to win. This is a game they got to get. So I'll give the Giants the dub there, and they cover the spread.
Yeah, it's only 1.5, so it's kind of a wash there. But and then you got the Jets, Panthers. The Jets are getting 4.5 in Carolina, 1:00 on Sunday, September 12th. What do you think?
I think the Jets go out and win. I think they go out and win because it's a first-year coach, and that's just what they'll do. And I think Wilson comes out guns a-blazing, has a big game. I think Robbie Anderson has a big drop for the Panthers, and you're in a good shape.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I think the Jets, I do think the Jets are going to win the game because, as much as they don't have the same coaching staff anymore with the Jets, they know Sam Darnold. This team knows Sam Darnold. Like, there's people that are still in the building that were with the team for the last
of course years.
They know Sam Darnold and they know what he's cooking. Matt Rule's a good coach, but I don't know, man. I mean, they're McCaffrey, and that's going to be tough. And without Carl Lawson, it's going to be tough. And the Jets have no corners. I mean, they have rookie corners, so you never know. They have that guy Nichols, who was like a 6th-round pick, and they cut Bless Austin, which was a puzzler. But you know what? I'm going to trust Robert Saleh because he's the defensive coach. I'm going to trust what he does on the defensive side of the ball until he proves me otherwise. The offensive stuff, I got to see to believe it, but we'll see. Elijah Moore's healthy, so I feel like he's the one thing that nobody's seen in preseason. If you're doing fantasy drafts, take Elijah Moore, man, or woman. Like Elijah Moore he's that people comparing him to Steve Smith, Panthers Steve Smith, perfect segue for the Panthers, but they're comparing him to that. He's short, but he's doing, people like you listen to every beat reporter, our favorite beat reporter, like Connor Hughes, who was on this podcast a couple episodes ago. He raves about Elijah Moore. Like every time he was at a practice, he made a play until he got hurt. And Corey Davis, also a big signing from the Titans, top 10 pick in the draft, I believe. New atmosphere. Maybe this is where, had a personal problem. I think his brother died or something recently, like a year or two ago. So maybe new city, new start. He just had a baby, I'm trying to get excited about it. You know what I mean? But like deep down, I just I don't know, man. And it's hard because the Jets, it's like, there's no point of being a football fan if you're not excited about your team, especially we talked about this podcast a couple episodes ago where it's like the Jets are at the point where I can finally start rooting for them again, where it's like the last 2 years, it's like, we're never winning with Adam Gase. They're going to stink. Can we just lose and get this guy? Like, you want to win, but in the back of your mind, you're like, it might be better for us if they lose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and then last year, the debacle with the tanking, are they tanking? Are they not tanking? And it's just, this is a mess. Why am I wasting my time with this?
Are you as a Jets fan then keeping an eye on what Trevor Lawrence does this year? Very, very, very
no,
quickly?
Because I think tanking, no, because I think tanking in football is the stupidest thing ever. It's just like you're gonna get a quality player in the first round if you're in the top 5 if you know what you're doing. And tanking for a quarterback doesn't really do anything. People tank for Jameis Winston. They tank for Marcus Mariota that year. They tank for whatever, Mitch Trubisky. Nobody tanked for Mitch Trubisky, but he was like the number 2 pick in the draft.
The tank for Zion.
Like, the tank for Zion. And what has he done? I mean, like he looks like incredible, but he's just always hurt.
No, I know.
What has he done? But I'm just saying, like, tanking for players in football is just so bizarre. It's so weird to me because there's 7 rounds. There's so many players. If you really are a good organization, you could find guys anywhere and you can make trades and trade for a future pick and get it. And just, you have to have a team that's winning. Otherwise it's just, you're just nothing. Like, I mean, like you're like the Texans are in the like that team is good. They're going to be terrible. They're purging their roster.
Well,
they have the quarterback with Watson and like, they lost their draft picks. Like they're just like, I don't know if they have their first round. I don't know. Something's with there. I'm not going to go inside Texans right now, but like they're just a mess. And they know that they're like 2 or 3 years away, like just from even trying to win again. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
But
what are your thoughts on the Giants this year? What are your
I just gave them. I just told
record wise,
10-7.
Okay, that's cool. And now Super Bowl. What are your thoughts? Super Bowl pick, like you said.
Super Bowl pick.
Preseason.
Preseason
bad weather fan Super Bowl.
I'm not trying to be like generic here.
Yeah.
But if somebody put a gun to my head and said, "Who do you think will win the Super Bowl?" I say, "I fucking take Tom Brady and I'll ride him." Like, how could you not?
Again? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even like seriously.
I know.
Would you pick? I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but the Bucks are loaded. Tom Brady's obviously not lost a beat. Like, why would you not think him?
And they have every player on offense, every starter on offense from last year is back this year, which is incredible. And every player is vaccinated. They're not going to have any COVID problems unless it's like somebody tests positive when you're vaccinated, but it's easier to recover, like whatever. I'm not getting into that. But their camaraderie is there. They're poised for a repeat.
Yeah,
I mean, they're like ready.
Okay, last year the Bucks had points where they struggled and they had issues, but then they got it together when it mattered.
No preseason though. No training camp. No preseason. New team.
How could you not pick them? I think Dak Prescott's going to have a real big year, and I like what they did in the draft, and I like the takes that the wide receiver core is. I mean, how could you not take Tom Brady again? Seriously, I know. Okay, and then in the AFC. How could you not take Mahomes? I mean, how can you not do that? How can you go? I like Tennessee. I mean, the Ravens lost their starting running back, which is a huge problem. I mean, how could you go? You know, the Titans have clearly they have a solid foundation there, but they're so ahead of everybody else. I don't know how you could not take that. And then it's always funny to me because I think the NFL this season has more clear-cut, obvious teams that are going to the Super Bowl than the NBA, which is more wide open, where everybody bitches about how impossible it is for NBA teams to win games. Meanwhile, there's so many question marks around all teams, East and West, even with the Nets and the Lakers loading up.
Yeah, I just got to be honest. So your pick is Chiefs Bucks again. That's the Super Bowl.
I just don't know how you could make a different one based on everything how am I going to pick against Brady and Mahomes? I mean, what's my logic?
Well, the logic for me is all you can do is think about like law of averages in a way, because Brady isn't in every Super Bowl. He's in a lot of them, but he's not in every. He's in every championship game, AFC or NFC championship game. So you could think they're going to be there. I had a thought today when I was watching NFL Network. They're talking about T.J. Watt, who's an incredible player on the Steelers. I had a thought. I'm like looking at Big Ben standing up for Watt at the press conference saying, you got to pay the guy. I took a pay cut so you could pay guys like him. What are you doing? Getting his guys back. He's retiring soon. He doesn't give a damn. Like, you know what I mean? I had a scary feeling that this is going to be a year the Steelers are going to win. And I hate the Steelers, man, from the Doug Bryan games, from the Steelers Jets matchups. I hate the Steelers. And I have a scary feeling they're going to get by the Chiefs just because a football team in the NFL, I don't think besides the Bills, have been to the Super Bowl 3 straight times. And that's such a tough thing to do. And I am also really, really high on the Rams with Stafford. I think Stafford was stuck in Detroit with that mess for so long that now he's with a real organization, with real talent, with a real coach. I think the Rams are going to be really, really scary.
I could see that.
I think Steelers-Rams Super Bowl is like my outside the box Super Bowl pick, which I want to use it. But it's like you said, it's so hard to pick against the Bucks and Chiefs to have the same Super Bowl again. It's really hard. We haven't had what's the last 2 teams to play in the Super Bowl back-to-back years?
It would be back-to-back years. I wanted to say Bills somebody, but was it the Bills?
Cowboys.
Was it Bills Cowboys?
Yeah, Bills Cowboys.
Okay.
So there you go. Because it was the Bills. The 4 was the Giants, the Redskins. Don't kill me. They were the Redskins then. Then the Cowboys.
Yeah. I'd be, the part about the Steelers, I have to see if Big Ben's not shot. I mean, that to me, I know you said you see him watching there, but like,
yeah, but think about it, they were
guy?
awesome last year until he got injured, and then they fell off a cliff. But weren't they like 12-1 last year? Or
no, they were undefeated.
Crazy.
I mean, they were rolling. Rolling, and then
that's why
fell off the cliff. No, I mean,
they have a lot of talent.
No, obviously on the defensive side is where they're, it's like old school Steelers. But I would.
And Najee Harris, the rookie running back that they didn't take with the second pick in the draft, but he's going to be incredible.
He's one of the most intriguing players to me this season is Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
like Eli's been retired. He's now doing shit on ESPN.
Philip Rivers is
now coaching
like
middle school peewee football, but Big Ben's still playing. I think Big Ben's still playing because
he wants.
I don't think he knows what to do if he wasn't playing football. I think he'd be like, I don't know what the fuck to do with my life. Like I need to be playing football. I think Eli.
What's going to happen to him when he retires?
I think Eli knows, like, hey, I've got all this media stuff. I have a fun personality. Philip Rivers is like, I got 702 kids. I think Ben's like, he loves football so much. He is going to cling on to that as long as he can.
He's going to bounce around. He'll probably be on another team after the Steelers, like play for the Colts.
Oh, I don't know about that. That'd be weird. Like Big Ben is the quarterback for the Jags.
Quarterback of the Falcons or something. Like just like weird. Hanging on, like, you know what I mean? So we'll see. But I just have that scary feeling, man. And like, it's just in the back of my mind. Like, I'm just like, oh no, like, you know what I mean? I see it like Friday, they're going to sign Watt. Like they're going to bring him and he's going to give him the extension because the Steelers have that weird thing where they don't negotiate during the season, but like feel like they're going to get it done like but he showed up to practice today for the first time. It's like, okay, this is scary. You're going to get that. We signed our best defensive player, our best player on the team probably. And now we go into the season when everybody's all hyped up, like they took care of our own, and let's go. We're all in this together. One last shot. Let's go. And I'm like, oh no. So we'll see. But they don't have Patrick Mahomes. So
can I give you 5 headlines? And we'll make this quick because I put this shit together. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to give you 5 headlines. You got to tell me one that's not real. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not looking at you right now because I'm reading. So bear with me. Okay.
That's fine.
I'll give you all 5, and then you tell me which one's the fake one, okay? Here we go.
Okay.
Le'Veon Bell signing with the Ravens practice squad.
Real.
I'm not finished.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Oh, you don't want me to read it out loud? Okay,
let me just
keep it together.
I
know that's real.
Tyler Hero looks absolutely ripped in new gym photo.
Am I supposed to say real or fake? Or
I'll just at the end, which one's fake? Terrell Owens renews ego feud with Donovan McNabb. I'd knock chunky soup from him. Hayden Manning says he could throw 3 touchdowns in a football game as long as there's no pass rush.
Okay.
Tom Brady is the face of Tom Brady's face on the Mount Rushmore of Sports Hall of Tom Brady's face is on the Mount Rushmore of Sports Hall of Fame of all sports ever.
Okay, so which one's fake?
Yeah, which one's fake?
So I know Le'Veon Bell is not, so we already got through that one. So then we have, what's the other ones? That's the next one was the
Tyler Hero looks ripped in new gym photo. Peyton Manning says he could throw 3 touchdowns in an NFL game with no pass rush. Terrell Owen renews feud with Donovan McNabb. I'd knock chunky soup from him. Tom Brady's face should be on the Mount Rushmore of Sports Hall of Famers. Tom Brady's face is on the Mount Rushmore of sports. Hall of Famers. Which one's
fake? I want to say the Hero thing is fake, but it's such a like a thing that one of those workout gym things that I can see that being real. So I'm gonna go with the T.O. and McNabb thing is fake.
No, that one's real. The one I made up was Peyton Manning. That was fake. The other ones are real.
I can see Peyton Manning saying something like that.
That's why I thought to write it.
Yeah, it's good. You're a good producer.
Thank you. You make $28,000 a year. It's great. Okay. Let's move on. That's more than that. Okay. We've had a fun time. We've talked a lot here, considering there's
a lot of football. We went into football a lot because we were like excited about the season and whatever.
Yeah,
but
all right, so let's do our poll question and then our Dolan J Trump sponsored trivia question. Make sure you buy his merch. Dolan J Trump, one of the greatest Net and Nick fans of all time. Probably the
yes.
If I had to pick the greatest Nets and Nick fan of all time that has no like family ties or played or has some sort of weird connection, I can't think of somebody that's loved both franchises as much as Dolan has. But anyway, let's get to the poll question, and then we'll get to our trivia, and we'll wrap things up here on Bad Weather Fans.
Okay, so Knicks fans at Knicks Central, I do one Knicks poll question a week for the podcast, and I read some responses. So Knicks fans, how far do you think the Nets will go this upcoming season, and comment why? Win the championship, lose in the NBA Finals, lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, or lose in the second round, or worse?
ECF, losing the ECF.
That is correct. 28.5%. So it was a tight vote. We had a lot of votes on this one. 28.5% losing the Eastern Conference Finals. 25.9% win the championship. 25.6% lose in the finals. And 19.9% lose in the second round or worse. See, not all Knicks fans vote. Like Nets fans like sneak in there and probably voted to win the championship like you told me you did. I did, so there's a lot of that, I'm sure. So it's not really just for Knicks fans, especially when it's a Nets question. But I just wanted to like spice it up a little bit with the poll question.
Yeah, man. I'm dying to hear these responses.
Okay, so we have Jamaican Paulie. He's at call_me_Faust FOST. He goes, as a Knicks fan, why on earth would I give two shits about the Nets, especially enough to vote for how far they may make it next year? LOL. I'm sorry. Just trying to make a poll question, bro. Sorry, man. No, I'm kidding. That's my man. Then we have Tim Morera is at Tim_Morera. Losing is in their DNA. So he doesn't tell me what he voted for, but I think we got to win the championship. We have Venom Boss. He's at MJ_Smooth LL or 11, not LL. If they are actually able to stay healthy, then I'd say they would win the title, which I agree. Then we have our boy Bobby B. He's at Ruboy NYK. He goes, win championship because God hates the Knicks. So he admits there's a rivalry there. So how about that?
Yes.
And you would love to win a championship because it would also make Knicks fans hate themselves even more, and it would make you feel great.
Oh, I've been daydreaming. Oh my God, I can't. I've been thinking about how next season. I've been thinking about this too, like all the front running Net fans that are out there. And I've just been thinking about how annoying they'll be. It's like,
what's funny? Would you want to win a championship? Would you want to win the championship? Game 7, game winning shot, or sweep and you blow them out in every game in the finals?
At the end of it all, I think the game 7 shot would make for a more amazing moment. But I wouldn't want to sign. I would never sign up for that.
You're winning either way, so it's a weird question because you're winning.
Yeah, but I mean, I would pick the game. I'd pick the 4-game sweep and just get it. But relax. The euphoria of having that kind of moment would be
up in the air, and you have that moment you're like, like the LJ 4-point play where he's fouled and the ball goes up and you're just like, and then it goes in and you just hit the ceiling. Like that's
KD
like
game 5, man.
Yeah, except it was an air ball.
Or game 7. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Overtime. But regular season thing. But yeah, no, that'd be cool. Oh my God. I cannot wait. Was it 35 days or something? Crazy.
Less than for the preseason is less.
Crazy.
So then we have so that means it's training camps around the corner. Wow. And we're rolling. So we have Sergio at Panam 996. So PANAM. I hope they don't make the playoffs. ... That's what he says. And that's the last response. But I agree. Sergio, I agree.
If the Nets don't make the playoffs next year,
oh my God, you'll quit the podcast.
Something bad happened.
Yeah, that is like somebody.
We're not. Let's move on.
Kyrie retired in the middle of the season, and Durant and Harden both. All
right, I'm reading to you first. We're doing the Dolan J Trump trivia. Okay. This is a jersey sponsored game. What we do here is I'm going to read clues, and then Alex has to guess who on the Knicks wore the jersey. This originally started with Alex asking me net questions about jersey numbers based on the episodes. Like number 7 would be Kenny Anderson for the Nets. And number 33 would be, I can't think of anybody, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say here. What we'll do now is I'm going to read the Knicks off to you. Don't forget, this is sponsored by Dolan J. Trump. He's got great merchandise. If you're a Knicks fan, check it out. Go on his Twitter page at Dolan_J_Trump, and that's where you can find it. You ready, Alex?
Yeah, he got me last week with
he got me too. He's gonna get this week.
Did he get
again.
me? With Lou Amundsen. He got me because he switched the number because he had his number changed and it was 21 and like Shump and I was like all off in the timing. He was good. He's getting better because he All right, let's see.
I should have had last week. That was an embarrassment.
I was mad also because he's not. It was a memorable Nick. But anyway, go ahead.
Here we go. He wore number 11. Okay, hold on. He wore number 11 during the 2012-2013 season. His only season with the Knicks.
Corey Brewer.
No.
Ronnie Brewer.
Yes.
There you go. Easy. Come on, man. That was easy.
You want to hear the other clues?
Sure. I said Corey, so I was almost wrong. But I think he was on the Knicks for half a second, too, before they traded him. I don't think he played. But go ahead.
Here's the other clues. Dolan Trump did bad. Dolan Trump did bad. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
At 6'7", he started 34 of the 46 games in which he appeared in averaging just over 3 points per game. I love these God. He played 8 years in the NBA after being drafted by Utah, 14th overall in 2006. He played college ball at the same school at as Joseph Johnson and Robert Portis.
Joseph Johnson.
And he's getting slick there. The Knicks signed him as a free agent after he spent 2 seasons in Chicago.
Oh, Robert Portis, that Bobby Portis. Robert Portis.
And Joseph Johnson, I assume, is Joe Johnson. He played for 6 different organizations during his 8-year career, including the Bulls, Jazz, Knicks, OKC, Houston, and Memphis. It is Ronnie Brewer. All right. You're going to get me this week.
How about that, man? See, he tried to get slick. See, last week he got me with one because it was weird because it was 2 numbers and he didn't give me the position, and it was just like the weird timing with transition years for the Knicks with Lou Amundsen, and it just kind of like threw me off. And then this one was just like number 11. I'm like, dumb, easy.
Well, you had the wrong guy at first.
Yeah, but right last name. I should have said Brewer. Who is Brewer? And then you'd be like, Jim.
Drop the mic. He knows my weakness now, so I'm ready to get exposed.
I'm looking at you like waiting for it. I got to read to you. Okay, yeah. So here we go. He wore number 44 during the 1989 season, but switched to 54 for the 1991 season.
Jack Haley.
Yeah, look at you. We crushed him this week. Didn't even get the question 2. I mean, hint 2 on both of them. Come on, man. You're getting bad at this, Dolan.
That was needed.
Dolan J. Trump.
He went. I told you, like my I can get those Nets. The weakness is that early Brooklyn. I told him this.
Yeah, and it wasn't fixed.
It wasn't fixed. That was
the trivia was not fixed. It wasn't a hoax.
Let me hear the rest of these questions. Not that it matters now, but
the hints. Yeah. So here we go. He played 4 total seasons for the Nets, including the final 2 years of his career during the 1996 and 1997 seasons. He started 44 games during the first tour of duty in New Jersey, but played very little during his second stint. He also played for the San Antonio Spurs, Chicago Bulls, and the Los Angeles Lakers, and was an NBA champion. His career lasted 9 seasons after being drafted in the 4th round in the 1987 draft by the Bulls.
He was an assistant coach, I want to say, but
I don't know. That's crazy. It's still crazy that there was more than 2 rounds. I know it's been like 20 years, but it's still crazy. 4th round pick. So he attended UCLA. Although he was listed as a center / power forward, some referred to him as a babysitter of a certain player.
Dennis Rodman.
Oh, okay.
With the Spurs.
Was he really?
I think he was Rodman's Spurs babysitter.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Didn't do a good job then.
That would have been the clue I think that I would have had. Good job, Dolan. That was crazy. Well, we're like in sync. You got that. We couldn't get him. This was way hard. Like everybody, like Tyshawn Taylor.
Yeah, it was tough.
You just don't know, man. You just don't
know.
Lou
Amundsen, you would think I would have gotten Lou Amundsen before I got Ronnie Brewer. Though,
weird how the brain works.
Yeah. It's just number 11 it's a number association thing for me because I'm like, I think number 11 and then I think of the year. I'm like, number 11, I think Jamal Crawford instantly. Boom, that's what I think of. And then like I'm like, okay, it was after Jamal Crawford and there hasn't been any really number 11 since, I don't think. So like Ronnie Brewer. And I was just like, and then he was on the team quickly, like for like a short amount of time. And I remember that mellow year, it was like he was in and out. And the Shumpert song he mentions him. So
Amon Shumpert, Dancing with the Stars, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That'd be pretty good. I think he'd crush it. He's a good rapper. And then, like, I think Westbrook, once he's retired, he'll crush it on Dancing with the Stars. Russell Westbrook, another guy who would do it. Anyway,
my mother-in-law texted me that today. That's okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, XNet, great, right?
Yeah. I guess he won't be back next season. This has been Bad Weather Fans, episode number 81. Want to give one shout out, if that's okay. You're allowed to give us. You've given shout outs. I'm going to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to my son for turning 1 today. Kudos to Ryan for being 1 year old. So I just want to say happy birthday, Ryan. When you're listening to this in X amount of years, I mean, who the fuck?
When we're on episode 8008, you'll know that.
In episode 8008. Yeah, whatever it is. Anyway, I want to do that. Alex, good shit. Good episode as always. Download, subscribe. As you would say, thumbs up time on the YouTube. Check it out, Bad Weather Fans. We have a lot of fun. Give us 5 stars. We are so excited for the NBA season to start up and the NFL season just around the corner. Alex, good shit as always. Dolan, you took the L this week, bro.
Download the podcast episodes, please. If you listen, that helps us out a lot. Download, then delete. There you go. And then we're good to go. If you want to help the podcast, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.